Joining me now is very special guest from London, Mr. Tarun Gulati, who is an official candidate and perhaps he's going to run for the office of the Mayor of London City next year. There's a lot of excitement, there's a lot of enthusiasm as far as his candidature is concerned. There are two reasons to it. One, that he is contesting independently. There is no party's backing. And the second is that he has Indian origins. So, sir, thank you so much for joining us here in New Delhi.
Thank you for having me. I thank CNN 18 for having me here tonight. I'm absolutely delighted to speak with you. Indeed, I'm a very proud Indian. Being a Bharatiya teaches you a lot of values. I'm a Hindu who follows Sanatan Dharma, and it teaches you Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which means the whole world is one family, and I believe in that. So I believe I'm for all Londoners.
Okay, sir. Perhaps the post of the Mayor of London City is one decorated post all across the world. Would like to know from you. You are in New Delhi, this year's diplomatic capital. India just hosted the G20, a very successful G20 summit. How do you look at India's positioning at world stage and perhaps the kind of contributions that India is making, in this largely divided world? How do you look at India's positioning under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi?
I think firstly, forgive me for saying this, but Prime Minister Modi is doing a stupendous job. I think India is on the global map, leading the G20. There has never been a situation like this where India is right at the forefront of everything, including the fact that geopolitically there's a shift towards the global south. And I think Prime Minister Modi is doing a stupendous job in making sure that India is on the helm of everything, spearheading all sorts of initiatives globally, be it geopolitical, be it economic, and is punching at weights on every particular front.
Okay. Now, I would like to know your pitch for the people of London. What is going to be your pitch? Because after the political success of Rishi Sunak, there is a lot of optimism here in India also. Like, people have started watching elections happening in London and even in England very closely. What is your political pitch, and perhaps what is the narrative or a pitch that you are going to contest elections on?
I think firstly people need to understand London is the only global city in the world. It ranks number one on the global index. So whilst it is there, things have changed. Geopolitically, there's a war ongoing in Europe. There is a strife as we speak in the Middle East. There was COVID before that. There was a financial crisis before that. And we've had Brexit. So there has been a lot of crises where people are suffering in terms of cost of living crisis there. Inflation is high. The country itself has a high debt burden. So against that backdrop, my role as London Mayor, which I believe I will win, is to ensure I'm for everybody.
Okay.
No matter where they come from, London, there are 300 languages spoken in London. So whilst Indian constitute about 4 or 5%, there are Pakistanis there are Bangladeshis there are Sri Lankans there are Romanians there are Somalis there's Ghanaians there are Bangladeshis there, Sri Lanka. So London is a melting pot. It's like a global bank. You got to make sure you uplift people, particularly those that are underserved, underprivileged, low income, middle income. That's my role there.
Okay. So given the shaky relations that in New Delhi and London had perhaps few months back because of the attack on the Indian High Commission in London, and perhaps the rise of Khalistani extremism on the soil of England. How do you see events unfolding, and perhaps the kind of position Rishi Sunak has taken? I mean, he has also has provided a dedicated fund to fight extremism, Khalistani extremism. Then there were some actions also taken. The security was later provided to. So how do you see him taking position, and perhaps do you think a lot needs to be done when it comes to this growing threat of Khalistani separatism in England?
I think firstly, Rishi Sunak is doing the right thing. He understands that protection needs to be provided. It's the global norm of diplomatic relations. It's the responsibility of the host nation. More needs to be done. The London Mayor should not be sitting on a fence. More proactive action, preventative action needs to have been taken. We need to ensure that we should have the intelligence telling us that something like this is happening. So at the end of the day, we need to ensure the safety of diplomats and all citizens, in fact.
Sadiq Khan is the mayor of London right now. In fact, there were reports of, in fact, some section in India was unhappy with the way local authorities responded on that very day when the High Commission was attacked and Indian flag were disrespected by those individuals. So, would like to know, how do you look at his response, and perhaps there was not even a proper messaging also from his office condemning the attacks, or how do you look at his position? Do you think that because of the requirement of the local vote bank politics, he perhaps tried to take a balanced position?
I don't think you could take a balanced position here. You've got to be stern, strong, and forthright.
Okay.
His response should have been faster, quicker, and ensuring something like this should not happen in London. When I'm London mayor, this will not be the norm. I will ensure all religions, all caste and creed, nobody should be segregated.
Oh, okay.
So this response was indeed not the best thing to have been the case.
So there is also a rise of polarization, given a lot of developments taking place in India, across the world. There's like rise of polarization. There's rise in polarization. Perhaps, as you rightly said, the London is an international city, so people from all communities, religion, live there. Perhaps they also have a right to protest. But given the visuals that we got to see from London city, the way people have come out on the streets to support a Palestinian cause, there was heavy sloganeering. How do you read such level of support coming for Palestinian state, especially when Hamas has done a terror strike on Israel, and the innocent Israeli lives were lost in 7th October attack? How do you read such level of support pouring in for the Palestinian state?
Firstly, terrorism of any form needs to be stopped. It needs to be deplored, condemned. So no matter where it happens, it needs to be stopped. Now, in terms of support, I think civilians, when they're affected on both sides, you got to make sure it doesn't happen. So the rules of engagement need to be measured. We need to make sure that, yes, there are hostages at the other end. They need to be released. But so the Palestinians coming out need to make sure that it is peaceful, and they make sure that the peace process is not derailed, because this has been going on for years. So both sides need to take a measured approach and ensure that, yes, the peace process needs to be back on the table, and the Palestinians perhaps need their own land. We should work towards it. And I'm for the Israelis at the same time, because this should not have happened.
Not in your constituency, not in London city, but yes, there were some clashes also reported between Hindu and Muslim community in England last year.
In Leicester.
Yeah, in Leicester.
Yes.
So, would like to understand from you, what is your position on that? Perhaps, do you also see the failure of a law and order in London, in England?
Most certainly, where Leicester was concerned. But I think communities, all this is to do with economic growth. My agenda as a mayor is trust and growth. As far as I'm concerned, you need to uplift everybody. When you create opportunities, jobs, you make sure the well-being of the people is taken care of. People, when they're happy, when they're smiling, and economically strong, things happen. So people are certainly going through a cost of living crisis. A lot of these things happen when tempers rise because of other aspects, not necessarily due to communal things, but certainly where Hindu and Muslim aspects that you're referring to, we should not have that, because we are brothers at the end of the day, and we need to work together.
Okay. Sir, also a question which bothers many Indians. Perhaps there are a lot of fugitive offenders, comfortably enjoying luxurious lives in London, including likes of Vijay Mallya, Nirav Modi. Perhaps India has been giving a lot of details, material, as far as their investigation is concerned, how they have scammed billions of rupees. Would like to know from you, and perhaps there's also perception that London is becoming a safe haven for these fugitive offenders. What is your politics, or perhaps your position on this? Because there has been a significant damage to the reputation of London in terms of harboring these fugitive offenders.
I think the Prime Minister, Mr. Sunak, has taken some action to ensure something like this doesn't happen. So there is corrective action being taken. At the same time, yes, I won't mention individuals' names, which you mentioned. They are perhaps resident there, but at the end of the day, we need to make sure that if correct information is provided, I'm sure the law of the land will ensure that whatever corrective action can be taken to make sure we amend any mistakes of the past to bring the rules of the law into play.